Welcome to our channel. In this video, I am going to explain the movie titled White Man's Burden, released in the year 1995. The movie is set in an alternative America, where African Americans and white Americans have reversed cultural roles. All the liberties are enjoyed by black people. They are considered superior race, while the whites are frowned upon and are given menial jobs. Blacks' contribution is much higher in scientific discoveries, country's economy, and music, cinema, and art, etc., whereas the whites are considered problem-causing people, involved in illicit dealings, violence, and other serious crimes. The movie starts with a group of black people enjoying dinner at a wealthy businessman, Thaddeus Thomas's residence. Thaddeus is talking about white people declaring them as genetically inferior to them and that they have no right to good quality of life. Thereafter, the scene shifts to a white candy factory, to the main character of the movie, a laborious worker, Pinnock. After completing his working hours, to be in the good books of the black seniors, Pinnock offers to deliver a package to Thaddeus at his residence. On his way, he passes through a rich neighborhood, exclusively consisting of black people. Pinnock arrives at Thaddeus' residence, informs the white female servant, who allows him inside. He climbs up the stairs and stands in front of the house. While waiting for someone to receive the package, Pinnock starts looking around the big mansion-like house. He notices Thaddeus' wife, Megan, in the window, naked. Thaddeus, who is speaking over a phone, observes Pinnock peeping at his wife and gets angry. After delivering the package, Pinnock drives to his house. While on way, he notices some police officers bullying white people. On reaching home, he makes a failed attempt to try and stop his rude neighbors from making loud noise. As he enters his house, his little son, Donnie, greets him. Pinnock's wife, Marcia, also arrives with their little daughter and welcomes him home. They prepare dinner together, and Pinnock promises that he will get a promotion soon, and they will shift to a better neighborhood. Meanwhile, there is another gathering at Thaddeus' house. Thaddeus stops the VP of the candy factory, Lionel, and advises him to send someone else next time, instead of the peeping guy, to deliver his package. Next day, on finding that the foreman's position at the factory is vacant, Pinnock visits Lionel's office and requests him to promote him. Lionel takes his request, answers him casually that he will look into it. On his careless attitude, Pinnock reminds him of the extra shift that he has been putting up lately. He also mentions his voluntary package delivery at Thaddeus' house the previous day. Hearing this, Lionel asks him to take a seat and politely informs him that he can no longer continue working at the factory. Shocked, Pinnock tells Lionel that he cannot fire him without any reason. Lionel tries to make Pinnock understand that the decision will be good for him in the long run, but Pinnock insists on knowing the reason. Lionel reveals that the owner of the factory, Thaddeus, noticed him peeping at his wife when he went there to deliver the package. In the next scene, Pinnock is seen outside Thaddeus' house, requesting the white servant to let him talk with Thaddeus. To clear some misunderstanding, the servant lady walks up to Thaddeus to inform him, but he refuses to talk as he is in a meeting. Thus, despite begging for over an hour, Pinnock is ignored at the entrance. Devastated, Pinnock visits employment office to find a new job, but all he can get is low-paying work, not sufficient to support his family. Later, while driving home, exhausted, his car breaks down in the middle of the road, thus he is forced to walk home. Just then, some police officers surround him, asking him to put his hands behind his head. They force him down and ask to show his ID, saying that his appearance matches with a high-profile robber. On hearing the commotion, some white people gather there, demanding police to leave Pinnock. Soon, they start throwing wine bottles at the police. Resultantly, police get enraged and beat up Pinnock before driving away. Pinnock arrives home injured. Marcia is shocked on his condition. Pinnock tells her about the vicious brutality he just suffered. Then Marcia informs him that the landlord has also threatened to evacuate the house if they fail to pay the rent soon. Later, an early morning, Pinnock family is woken up by the landlord, who came there with some police officers. The police ask Pinnock to evacuate the place with their belongings immediately. As Pinnock family pack their belongings, Pinnock's mother-in-law reaches there and chastises him for being a bad husband. She tells him that there is no room for him at her house. Leaving him there, she drives away with Marcia and the kids. Having nowhere to go, Pinnock reaches outside Thaddeus' house. As Thaddeus arrives, he asks Pinnock what he is doing there. Realizing that the old man doesn't recognize him, Pinnock takes out a revolver and pointing it at Thaddeus enters his car. While inside, Pinnock hands him a piece of paper asking him to provide him with the amount of money written there. In a bid to escape, Thaddeus tells him that he doesn't have that kind of cash on him, but Pinnock forces him to drive to a nearby bank. As the duo arrives outside a bank, Pinnock threatens Thaddeus to talk to the teller at the window. Thaddeus tries to converse with the white teller and ask for some money, but the teller refuses, mentioning that the bank is closed. Enraged, Thaddeus threatens the teller to call his superior, but before their arguments escalate, Pinnock forces Thaddeus to drive away. They drive to a jungle and stop near Pinnock's vehicle. Pinnock shifts Thaddeus to his own vehicle, and they once again resume their journey. While driving, Pinnock orders Thaddeus to stay still. The duo arrives in Pinnock's neighborhood, where he used to live. Pinnock says that his neighborhood is better than Thaddeus. Then, he tells Thaddeus that he is responsible for Pinnock's miserable condition. But surprisingly, Thaddeus is oblivious to what Pinnock is telling, and asks for an explanation. Pinnock laughs and reveals that he is the one who came to deliver the package some days back. Pinnock then accuses Thaddeus of giving orders to Lionel to fire him. However, Thaddeus straightaway rejects the accusation, mentioning that he only asked Lionel to hire a new delivery guy. He then offers to settle the matter over a call with Lionel. But Pinnock refuses the offer and decides to wait till Monday, until the banks are open. In the next scene, Pinnock takes Thaddeus to a local restaurant to have some food. In the meantime, some white boys arrive and start cursing loudly. The restaurant owner asks them to go away, but they refuse. Later, the boys start staring at Thaddeus, thus, Pinnock suggests they should leave. As they walk out of the restaurant, the white boys block their way and grab them. Pinnock tries to take out his gun, but one of the boys hits him, throwing this gun away. Hearing the commotion, elderly restaurant owner walks outside holding a rifle, and shoots one of the white boys dead. The white boys become terrified and run away. Pinnock picks up his gun and prepares to leave, but Thaddeus, who is still in a shock at what he just saw, keeps on staring at the white guy's corpse. Pinnock takes Thaddeus to an abandoned building, and asks an old man, Stanley, to let them stay for the night. Initially, Stanley refuses, saying he is scared of black men, but when Pinnock fires his gun in the air, the old man hesitantly agrees. Next day, Pinnock again takes Thaddeus to a nearby local restaurant for dinner. There, Thaddeus asks Pinnock to let him make a phone call to only inform his family that he is all right. He also claims that he will fulfill his demands and requests him to let him go. However, Pinnock tells him that he cannot release him, as he doubts that he will inform the police. A while later, when Pinnock goes to the counter to refill his soda cup, Thaddeus runs away. Pinnock chases him, but Thaddeus deceives him by entering one of the roadside house premises. After making sure Pinnock has run past the house, he walks up to the house's door and knocks on it repeatedly. When no one opens the door, Thaddeus breaks the door glass and gets inside. There, he finds a telephone and immediately calls his wife, Megan. He asks her to call the cops, but when Megan asks about his location, he is clueless. Then suddenly, a white girl walks up to him. Assuming him a robber, she calls her father, saying that someone has broken into their house. Thaddeus struggles to make the girl believe he is not a robber, but the girl picks up a gun and points it at him. Meanwhile, her father also arrives. Sensing the danger, Thaddeus throws some decoration piece at his head, injuring him. The little girl shoots at Thaddeus, but misses, causing him to run away. Meanwhile, Pinnock also hears the gunshot and rushes towards the house. The injured house owner informs him that a black man broke into their house and has escaped. Following his direction, Pinnock spots Thaddeus and starts chasing him. Finally, Pinnock manages to capture him and bring him back to the abandoned building. Thaddeus suggests Pinnock that rather than complaining about his lost job, he should try to find a new job instead, and move on. He blames Pinnock of failing to accept the circumstances and trying to get away with it. This further enrages Pinnock, thus, he tapes up Thaddeus' hands and tie him around pole. He also wraps a thick piece of cloth on Thaddeus' mouth so that he does not speak. Elsewhere, the police arrive at the broken house and start searching for Thaddeus around the area. Meanwhile, Stanley arrives and informs Pinnock to run away from the building, as the cops are searching for him everywhere. He also suggests Pinnock to let Thaddeus go, and since he is not injured the police might reduce his sentence. But Pinnock is adamant on waiting till Monday, hence, he refuses to release Thaddeus. Just then, as he looks at Thaddeus, he finds him gagging and coughing. Afraid, Pinnock immediately opens his taping and a cloth wrapped around his mouth. But sadly, Thaddeus is already unconscious. It causes Stanley start packing up his clothes and prepare to leave. However, Pinnock decides to not leave Thaddeus in this condition. He starts pressing his chest to revive him. After a couple of attempts, Thaddeus finally starts breathing. Despite all that they have been through, Pinnock tells Stanley they should take Thaddeus to the hospital. And soon, Thaddeus is seen inside Pinnock's vehicle en route to the hospital. But sadly, the vehicle breaks down in the middle of the road. Desperate Pinnock gets out of his car and tries to ask for lift with other people. One lady offers to help them, but as she notices a black man being dragged out of Pinnock's car, she drives away. Now, with no sign of vehicles driving around and seeing Thaddeus' miserable condition, Pinnock takes out his gun and fires some shots in the air. He then shoots at some nearby stores, breaking glasses and causing an emergency siren around. Soon, Stanley notices a police car approaching. He suggests Pinnock they should leave now. But before leaving, as Pinnock looks at Thaddeus' miserable condition, he changes his mind and decides to stay with Thaddeus until he is taken to the hospital. Stanley tries to convince Pinnock again, but the latter refuses. Thus, Stanley escapes alone. After a while, the police officers arrive there and ask Pinnock to put his hands behind his head. Sadly, they notice a gun in Pinnock's hand and without any question, shoot him dead. Thaddeus is seen looking this all helplessly, as he can do nothing to stop the officers. Feeling sad for Pinnock, he starts crying. In the last scene of the movie, Thaddeus is seen visiting Pinnock's mother-in-law's house, where he meets Marcia. As he starts introducing himself, Marcia tells him that Stanley has already told her everything about the incident. Then, Thaddeus offers Marcia an envelope full of money, saying that it is for her family. But Marcia refuses to accept the money and returns the envelope. She then closes the door on his face and heads inside. Little Donnie is seen staring at Thaddeus while he drives away in his car. And the movie ends. That's all from the movie. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and share with friends. Also hit the subscribe button for more interesting content. See you next time with a new movie. Take care.
Are you all my personal